Hi, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies. I'm Steve Sparky, Fifer from Sports Radio 1250 WSSP in Milwaukee, host of the Wendy's Big Show weekday afternoons from 2 until 6. He is Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times, and I'm sure you saw that he broke the Milwaukee Bucks story getting Caron Butler on Wednesday night. So props to you, Gery, on breaking that story. Time now to talk about high school football. I had a chance last week after talking to Coach Bakken from Waterford to actually be at that game for Fox 6 in Milwaukee, Waterford and Pewaukee. I anticipated a low-scoring game. Waterford didn't score, so they were lower scoring. Pewaukee did, and Pewaukee got both their scores off of turnovers and mistakes by Waterford. A tip ball that ended up in an interception, and a quarterback-running back exchange was the other fumble, or was the other turnover for Waterford. Other than that, Pewaukee really struggled moving the football for majority of the game. After the game, I talked to Coach Frisky from Pewaukee, and he said, our defense played really well. We have a lot to do on offense. He goes, but that's a tough Waterford football team. And again, Coach Bakken said it, size-wise, they're not as big as maybe they've been in the years past, but they play hard, and they play hard the entire game. And even though Waterford couldn't get the ball in the end zone, I think they're going to be okay this year.
I'm sure Adam Bakken was disappointed that they lost, but I'll tell you what, if you're going to lose to a good team and lose in a manner where you can go, feel good about going forward. You saw that game. What did you like about Waterford? Obviously, every year under Bakken, their defense has been exceptional. Your thoughts on what you liked and where they have to?
I just really think that Pewaukee's size played a factor in that game. Pewaukee was, from a size perspective, able to move them when they needed to move them. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they didn't have any of these long, sustained drives against Waterford. I mean, even at the end of the game, they couldn't put together that long, sustained drive.
Right.
And like you said, Pewaukee's a good football team. So for Waterford to be able to do that against Pewaukee and hold their own, when they get into conference play, that's going to spell trouble for everybody else, I think.
So you think Waterford is going to be a contender in that Southern Lakes?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
No,
I haven't seen Badger yet. I mean, Hensler and Badger is always a team that I'm interested to see because Hensler is a hell of a coach at Badger. But yeah, I think Waterford's going to be right there at the end again and be in the playoffs again. No question.
And Waterford plays, if I'm not mistaken, this week, Case, which we can talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Case last week had Burlington, and last week Burlington beat Case 22-7. I did not see that football game, but from what I read in the Racine Journal-Times, it looked like Burlington had an NFL-sized offensive line. If that is the case indeed, then Case was going to be in trouble because I saw Case in the 4-team scrimmage, and they're just not that big physically up front. Be in that football game like they were, because they didn't score that last touchdown, I don't think, till later in the second half, to be in that game like Case was really kind of a feather in their cap if they were that physically outmatched.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt at all that the strength of the Burlington High School team this year is their offensive line.
Gigantic.
That they have 5 returning players on that offensive line. They're talented. So, I mean, right from the get-go, you've established a running game, and if they can build off that running game, they should be a factor in the Southern Lakes.
If you haven't gotten your Racine Journal-Times, every Thursday they do their preview edition, and it's one of the best preview editions you're going to get around the state for high school football, especially for the area that they're in. A very nice job. When you talk about this game now coming up with Racine Case,
I think this is kind of like a turning point for Case. You hate to say it, but it's 2 games into the season. But to me, it's like they got to establish an identity.
It's a big game for both schools.
Oh, no question. But I mean, Case in particular, Pancotti's trying to turn this thing around. And I think if they can at least be competitive, that they can hold their own and be in the game, I think that's another sign.
Let me ask you a question.
They're in the right direction.
Without trying to anger Coach Bakken, which conference is better, the SEC or the Southern Lakes?
Southern Lakes, no doubt.
Really?
In my mind, yeah. I think the SEC is kind of top heavy.
I agree with that.
There's like 3 or 4 teams, and then
I would say if Horlick is 3, I'll give you 3.
Yeah, and I think Horlick has.
I'm not as convinced Horlick is 3, but if they're 3, I'll say 3 because it may just be 2. It
right,
may
exactly.
Just be
and that's my point. I think the Southern Lakes is more competitive from top to bottom, where you could have 4 or 5 teams have a legitimate shot to be in the title.
Without question, more competitive. Mm-hmm. But I'm just talking about the physicality of both of those conferences. I think there's probably still more talent in the SEC than there is in the Southern Lakes.
But from a physicality standpoint, I definitely think it's the Southern Lakes. I mean, if you look at Waterford and you look at Burlington, those are 2 big physical teams.
We're going to find out.
I don't think, like you said, Case isn't physical. I don't think Park is overly physical. Horlick is somewhat, okay? So, I mean, right there you see the Southern Lakes.
And that is why I think if you're Waterford, this is a must-win game for Waterford. Because there I'm sure looking at Case and going, okay, it's Racine Case, come on. Mm-hmm. We should be better than Racine Case.
Sure.
And I think if you're Pancotti at Case, you're telling your guys, look, they're nowhere near big as Burlington, and we should be able to move these guys when we want to move these guys to go where we want to go. I think if you're Pancotti, you're looking at this as a big game because you get that offseason win.
I agree.
Going into, not offseason, but non-conference win going into the season.
But I think Case is going to have their hands full. I mean, when's the last time a team under Bakken has lost 2 games in a row?
Gary,
it hasn't.
I agree with you, but I'm going to go back to last year.
Yeah.
They should have beat Tremper Case. They should have beat Indian Trail, and they had Bradford. Mm-hmm. They had all 3 of those Kenosha schools dead to rights and blew all of them. He has to figure out a way to beat one of these really good football teams, and Waterford is one of those good football teams.
By the way, did you see?
He's going to get somebody this year.
By the way, have you seen that my favorite prep high school player? Is that redundant? Prep high school? Of course it is. My favorite prep athlete is on the Case football team this year. Tyrese Pinson. All 5'5" of them. Can you imagine 5'5"?
I'm 5'6", Gary.
I know.
I can imagine 5'5".
but
I've got 5'5".
But I give him props. This kid is just the nicest kid on the planet. And he's 5'9". He always has a smile on his face. And he gave football a shot. And he played. He's a running back. So I'm happy for him. Aren't you happy as well?
Where did that come from? What is going on? What happened to this video? I was trying to be I was serious video, and you talk about a 5'5" kid that's got a nice smile. Great. Hey, congratulations.
No, I mean, I don't know if you know about Tyrese Pinson, but he was the starting point guard for Case basketball team as a freshman.
Yes.
So I was impressed that he decided to come out for football this year.
And that's good. Case needs basketball players to play football.
That was a positive comment. I'm very impressed.
The nice smile thing was a little weird to me. Horlick is on the front page of the Racine Journal-Times. Ricky Neal Jr., who I like a lot. And I saw him last year. Limp off the field was the last time I saw him in the playoffs last year. But I really like Ricky Neal Jr. Mm-hmm. He obviously is a key to Horlick's success going forward.
Well, he is. I mean, he's probably the best player in the county. I mean, there might be a couple other guys that are in the hunt, but from a physical standpoint, he's very talented. And he's already, getting attention from several colleges. So
now they've got Burlington, who we talked about earlier, being a huge football team.
This is going to be a great game.
Last year, Burlington wins 20-13. Right. So they were competitive with that big offensive line last year. I'm going to take Horlick to win this football game.
You are.
Yep.
And what's the Fifer spread? 3 points? It's going to be a close game.
I'd say 3 points. I agree with you.
We talked about Burlington's running game behind that big offense line, but Horlick runs the ball very well. I mean, obviously, like you said, Ricky Neal.
Yep.
But they have a player named Barry, who is a very good running back, and another good running back named McKinstry. So those 3 are dangerous players. I mean, they're capable of, coming up with big plays. So
it'll be interesting to see what happens there. That's Horlick and Burlington. Racine Park is at Waukesha South. I don't know. I mean, Racine Park got annihilated by Brookfield Central.
Your good friend and colleague, Chuck Friedman, texted me the other day. He said Park is definitely better than a year ago. He said they actually played a good game the other night.
Against Brook Central?
Yeah.
They lost 38-6, this says.
Correct.
Is that wrong? 38-6,
yeah, I mean,
right?
if you're a bottom line guy, it was a blowout. But he goes that on several occasions they were deep in, who was it?
Brook Central.
Brook Central's territory. And they made a mental mistake or a fumble or whatever.
So they get Waukesha South then? You taking that? You think they can get Waukesha South?
You know what?
It's at Waukesha South. They're on the road.
No, I'll go with Waukesha South. And I know absolutely nothing about Waukesha South.
I understand that. No. Well, Waukesha South traditionally hasn't been a very good football team.
Right,
so
right.
I can tell you that based on
But
history.
you know, I did talk to Dennis Thompson, the Park High School coach, and he was encouraged too. He goes, "Yeah, you see the score, and you said, hey, we didn't play very well." But he said, "But we did some good things." So if they can bear down and correct some of those mistakes, I expect them to be much.
Chuck Freeman said they look better than last year.
Correct.
Cheer him on Chuck and Wicked weekday mornings on SSP.
And he does games on WRJM.
Right.
So
I'll take Park to beat South.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm
only
with you.
on what Chuck Freeman said, because I haven't seen Park yet.
Okay.
Case at Waterford we've talked about. St. Joe's at Union Grove. Right. Milwaukee South at Racine Lutheran is another game.
Going back to Union Grove, they got to get on track though.
They got a brand new football field.
They do. That's what I'm saying. They got to start making some positive steps here.
Nice football field.
Outstanding. Yeah. I mean, between Indian Trail and Union Grove, you got two of the nicest football facilities around.
So Milwaukee South at Racine Lutheran, another game. Now last year, this whole thing with Clay Stevens last year, Racine Lutheran, and from offensive line to quarterback and everything else.
Right.
Oh, okay. What about Racine Lutheran this year?
Again, it's a numbers game. It's like all the private schools. I mean, St. Catherine's, Racine Lutheran, you only have so many guys. In Racine Lutheran's case, they're going through a rebuilding mode yet, similar to last year. They got some very good freshmen and sophomores. So, again, it could be a long, trying season, for Scott Smith and company. But it's encouraging. You hope to see some progress, during the course of the season.
St. Cat's, you were at the St. Cat's game last week. They looked really good.
They looked very good. And I told a couple people on our staff and our newsroom, I think they're the best football team in the county.
Well, we're going to find out.
Even though they're Division 5, and Horlick obviously has a very good team, Burlington has a good team, Waterford has a good team. St. Catherine's has just talent on both sides of the ball.
Well, they're going to be tested this week, Harry. I mean, they got to go to Lake Forest,
absolutely,
who's running a two-platoon system, which means they have more kids, obviously, and they're running a no-huddle offense on top of it to go up against St. Cat's. St. Cat's is going to be tested from an endurance and stamina standpoint, a physicality standpoint, and the whole deal. This is going to be a big game for St. Cat's.
But you know what? This could be like a silver lining game. Even if they get beat, they're going to play a big school, and if they can just hold their own, come playoff time, come even during the regular season, they're going to say, hey, we can play with anybody that's on our schedule. And I really like that team. I think Coach Miller has done a tremendous job over there.
You ever been to Lake Forest?
I have.
Yeah, we used to have band camp at Lake Forest.
You know who used to train in Lake Forest?
Who?
The Chicago Bears.
Oh, yeah. That
So,
I knew. I drove by Mr. T's house all the time. Mr. T has a house in Lake Forest. And they got mad at him because he cut down all the trees on the lot, Gary. And they put up a big fence. He cut down all the trees. The city of Lake Forest was like going to sue him or something because he cut down all the trees. It was a big deal.
Here, I don't have my
glasses. You can't
glasses.
read that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why he would give it to the person that can't see. Catholic Central at Lake County Lutheran is the other game. And every year, Catholic Central good in football once we get into conference play. Lake County Lutheran 1-0. They last week beat Rio. They went to Rio?
You know where that is?
Nevada. That's a hell of a
Rio.
trip.
No, R-I-O, right? Near Madison.
Rio?
Very good.
Thanks, Bowtie. Rio.
Wait.
Rio is what it's called.
Bowtie.
Where is it by?
Did you say Botox or Bowtie?
Bowtie. No.
Okay.
Where is it by?
Near Madison.
Rio?
Yeah.
Sure. So they won 41-0. Catholic Central lost to Kewanee.
Do you get out of your studio very often?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know why I would schedule a game against Kewanee if I was Catholic Central. I don't understand. I would like to hear what the logic is going into that game.
Well,
that team every year. If I'm thinking of the same Kewanee, it's a pretty good football team.
I rushed for 120 yards against Kewanee one time.
Really?
Just telling you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, who's the guy? Oh, never mind. We'll save it for next.
That's good.
No.
Okay, so Catholic Central.
That might have been our finest moment ever on Sports Junkies.
Yeah. Catholic Central going up against Lake County Lutheran. Should be an interesting
Skip
game.
Ellis, by the way, averaged 18 points a game. Then they found out later he averaged 4. So.
Right. Lake Country's
That's probably what
running back.
With Kewanee with me.
Justin Prostanek, I think is his name, rushed for 229 yards last week. So
yikes.
Obviously that is going to be a player you're going to need to contend with if you're Catholic Central. I'm going to take Catholic Central to beat Lake County Lutheran.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Aldrich's teams always get better
Yep.
as the season goes on and on. So I wouldn't put too much stock in their first 2 or 3 games. By the middle of the season, I think we'll have a real good indication of not if they're good, how good they're going to be.
Friday night right here at RacineSportsZone.com. You can check out the Case Waterford game.
That's what's on the paper?
Starts at 7 o'clock. Case and Waterford. And I am so glad I'm not going to that game.
Why?
Because no matter what sideline I'm on, I'm going to feel guilty. So I'm
Go in the field, You're Sparky.
well, no, that's what I'm saying. Whatever sideline I'm standing on, I don't know.
You could put on an official. That's what you should do. Be an official some night.
No.
Give a perspective from the officials.
We're done. He's going delusional. He's Gery Woelfel. I'm Steve Sparky Fifer. Thanks for another edition of Sports Junkies. Until next week, people. Bye-bye.
Can't wait.